Well, Maine State Representative Scott Hammond is drawing unwelcome attention tonight after he posted a violent, I think it's fair to say deranged tirade against the president on Facebook. Representative Hammond said he was just having a sarcastic exchange with an old friend when he said, among other things, this, and we're quoting, "You people are destroying America. Some of us are educated and actually follow current events. 100% of intelligent Americans agree that Trump is a complete loser. Go back to clinging to your guns because you're afraid." Expletive deleted here. See, it's not only Trump supporters who can talk like complete a-holes. As long as that's what's coming out of that side, then I'll match you dumb expletives word for word. Trump is a half-term president at most. Here's the key point, especially if I ever get within 10 feet of that expletive. Just a joke with an old friend. Howie Carr is a radio show host in Boston. He joins us tonight. Howie, this guy has got to be a right-wing evangelical because he's threatening violence, and that's the only group that does that, right?
Yeah, Tucker, why can't we all just get along, as Rodney King used to say? This just shows the double standard here. This was turned up by a New Hampshire radio talk show host named Keith Hansen, and he publicized this, and the silence from the Maine Democratic Party has been deafening. The mainstream media in Maine didn't really want to confront this guy, it appears. The Portland Press-Herald put out a headline on a story finally today. South Portland lawmakers calls President Trump a complete loser and makes a threat. Well, he threatened to kill him. Tucker, you just read it. I mean, that would be like if the Dallas Morning News on November 23rd, 1963 ran a headline, Lee Harvey Oswald calls President Kennedy a complete loser and makes a threat.
I'm surprised the headline wasn't right-wingers criticize South Portland representative, because that's usually the way they.
Well, that's in the second paragraph. That's in the second paragraph, Tucker. You know, this is what's been going on all along. They've been talking about deranged veterans, Christian militias. They're the ones that are Donald Trump supporters in pickup trucks with beer on their breath are committing all these hate crimes, which all turn out to be hoaxes. But look at all the violence is being perpetrated by these Bernie bros. This guy, Scott Hammond, this state rep, he's a Bernie bro. And, Hodgkinson, the guy from Illinois who shot up the congressional baseball practice, he was a Bernie volunteer. And the Washington Post, you saw the story, Tucker, over the weekend. Yeah. They had the temerity to write a story about some right-wing, obscure talk show host in Belleville, Illinois, and basically made it sound like this guy who watched Rachel Maddow every night was getting his cues from this retired cop from East St. Louis. It was preposterous.
Well, it always is. But what's shocking in this case is that the Maine Democratic Party, and there are some, I think, reasonable people still in that party in Maine, hasn't said anything about it. I mean, the guy, I don't think we're misquoting him. He implied that he wanted to commit violence against the president. Like, they didn't disavow that?
Yeah, no, they didn't. I'm on in a lot of Maine. Most of the Maine stations carry me in the afternoon on my radio show. One of my listeners said he called up the office of the Democratic House Speaker in Augusta, Maine, and said, what are you going to do about this? And, some flack called him back from the office and said, well, the Speaker is on vacation, and so she won't be able to comment. But, I mean, Tucker, look back to last year when David Duke, I mean, you can't get much more obscure than that guy. Yeah. He's out in Louisiana. He was a state rep for a couple of terms. He ran for governor once. He's a Klansman. Every time he put out a blog posting about Donald Trump, every Republican in the United States who's in elected office, down to county commissioner and tree warden, had to be called out. What do you think of David Duke? You know? What about this guy? Has anyone asked Chuck Schumer about this guy?
Well, it's not a defense of David Duke to say. I don't remember Duke ever threatening violence, physical violence, against Barack Obama.
No, what would happen, Tucker, if a Republican state rep, no matter how obscure, had said something like this about Barack Obama? Yeah. His political career would be over. There was a guy in Presque Isle in the northern part of Maine. He was a state rep, a Republican, a couple of years ago. He made some untoward comments about Barack Obama when he was still president, and that was like that was a major story in all of the Maine newspapers for weeks. They tried to strip him of his committee assignments in Augusta. They tried to get him to resign from the legislature, and now again the silence is deafening here.
And it ended his political career. And this guy's threatening violence. It says a lot about the wackos in their midst. Howie, thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Tucker.
Great to see you tonight.